Welcome to Introduction to Business, online or face-to-face this week, in the series of chapters we're taking with McGraw-Hill and the Blackboard course management system. This week we're going to be talking about Chapter 8, Adaptive Organizations. Okay, so what do we have about adaptive organization? Whether you're large or small, medium or big, you have to be adaptive. So make sure you flip into the mind maps and the concept maps that you'll find in Blackboard. It's either Dr. George's mind maps or concept maps. It's the same things. Those terms are interchangeable. Okay, structure and organization. So for even look at your family structure. When your family structure starts out, you have a division of labor. Somebody, my wife and I and my kids, we all have our specialties. My son likes to cook. I'm not the best at cook. I burn things, but I like to do the ironing. Right, my wife does the laundry. So we all have our specialization. In business, as a business grows, whether it's a partnership or a franchise or a management or even a larger organization, we have specialized. We break up either by division or by functionality, for lack of better words. Okay, and when I look at how a company is organized, no different than a structure or a business, we're looking at allocated resources, assign different tasks, establish procedures and rules, and adjust to new realities. Remember, what you're going to find out about organic and mechanistic organization, that the environment has a big impact in the organization, just like it does in our personal life. Why do we change? We have global competition, we have declining, the economy, you have faster technological changes. Technology gives us more, it's supposed to give us more time to have more free time, and we do have more free time, but we become so obsessed with technology that when we have free time we find more technologies to fill in the free time. So when you really look at it, we have no free time. We are so bombarded, we have to have every minute of our life structured. To a point, you have to remember, you always have to find that balance. So an organization has to have the balance between different companies. Even an organization, how do I find the time for people to relax? How do I find the people to and put that in to release stress within the structure, knowing that technology could be a friend, but it also could be something that could lead to burnout within an organization. Okay, customer expectation. You go into a Walmart and everything else. The customers expect to use their smartphones to get to things. You don't even have to span your your prices anymore. You just do it with an app, and you do it on a phone. So when you go to talk to individuals and you have issues how to use the technology, you want you to be more interrelated with it. You have coupons, you have frequent flyers, frequent coffee drinkers, all this with the apps now, because that's what technologies, that's what customers want. Now look at Henry Ford and Max Weber. They're the two biggest individuals that has a big impact in how companies are structured. So Henry Ford's got unity of command, which basically means that we all have to report to one big hierarchy, so we all know where we fit in into the chain. My boss is up here, have another level, then I come in here and there's about 20 other levels behind me, so you kind of know where you fit in. It makes a difference when you're talking to other people within the structure, so you know what level and what how much authority and responsibilities are attached to that level. Okay, division of labor we talked about. Authority means as a management, I still have to follow the laws of the country or the host country that I'm working with, the union, and the kind of contractual agreements I have, but I have the authority to tell my workforce which way, what to do, and they have to basically carry out, because that's what I'm being paying them for. And we'll talk about decentralization and centralization. If you're bureaucratic, very centralized, it makes sense because you have the same kind of consistency and everything else. But you become decentralized when you're working with customers and the environment. Most of your small or even larger operations, that anyone who touches the customer are basically in a flatter organization, so you don't have all those levels of communications. You could respond very quickly to your client and respond and adjust your product to what the needs are to the clientele that you're working with. Now, Max Weber, he's basically a bureaucratic, for lack of better words, founder. And he's looking to trust in management. If I look at strictly bureaucratic, they don't trust really empowerment too much of the workers. They think management knows the best, and so all they are rules and procedures. Follow these rules, you're all right. As long as you stay within the rules and procedures, you can't deviate. That works very good when you're in an environment that's very rigid. But if you look at most of our environments, very flexible, very organic, so we have to adjust. So we can't be too rigid, otherwise they'll snap. Okay, so if I look at most companies, have some very bureaucratic structural to it. It makes sense. It's like your skeleton, and it also have the organic, the outside body that takes the cushion and adjusts to the environment. Okay, bureaucracy, many levels, rules and regulations. Okay, centralizations. Authority starts at the top and all the dwindles down. Less responsive, less empowerment. They feel that because of rules and procedures, and some people like that. Don't get me wrong. Some people want the very rules and procedures. You get a lot of people from the Eastern Bloc countries when they're coming here to the United States, and we say you're empowered. You have all these flexibilities, or you can make so many decisions within a certain boundaries. They're not used to it because they're used to being told everything else to do. Also, some individuals from the military, certain branches of the military, or certain functions has to be very rigid. You tell them what to do. If you're in an operating room, you have to listen to the doctor telling you what to do. So it has to be more rigid. So then you have decentralization, and now more empowerment, more faster, but there's less efficiency. When you decentralize, you have more of the same operation in different offices, so it makes it a little bit harder. Now, span of control. When I look at span of control, is how many people could you manage? And if I look at a manager, if I'm a brand new person, I may be able to manage myself. If I get married or bring a spouse in, then it's me and her, so there's only two people. It's easy to manage my schedule. Now I have children, or what if I have triplets or everything else? Now everything changes because now I'm only not managing my own ability, my own world, but I have to manage other people and direct reports that work for me. So I basically have to have a different span of control. And how many? I think the author talked about like 10 or 15 is a good span of control. As a middle manager, I could say I had 400 people that worked for me, but do I really manage all 400? No, I have 10 direct reports, and they may have 5 other direct reports, and each one of those 5 direct reports may have 10 or 15 individuals. So even though I'm managing the smaller things, I'm managing large. They all are underneath my umbrella, so if anything happens, I'm responsible for all, but there's no way I could manage 400 individuals, so I have different levels of management at different spans of control at different levels. So you have it depends on your experience and experience of your workers, of how large of a span of control and how much technology and everything else could be done without me actually being there. Okay, so tall versus flat, we talked a little bit about that. Tall organization, harder to get the information back. Flat organization is what you'll see when you're dealing with customers, because you're more responsive, less layers. Departmentalization, economies of scales, function, responsive. So make sure you look at these are all very general information. How you departmentize, you do by product, you do by process, geographic, by customer type, combination, by function. So it depends on who your customers are and how your organization. Usually when you start off, it's either yourself, so you're doing everything. You're jack of all trades or Jackie of all trades. But then as you grow, you bring in a partner, so then you split up. But even if you split up, if you're still in a partnership that we talked about earlier, what you have to understand is that even though I may not be the expert cook, I still have to know how to cook in case the person within my family that is the expert cook is sick or is on vacation. So if something happens, I can still maintain the family or the business function going forward. So we all have our specialty, but we also have to have our understanding. We also have to have a general knowledge of what the other person is doing, because there's no way you could function in an organization. As you get larger and larger in an organization, as a manager and a leader that we've had before, you start having more conceptual ideas. I don't have to know the nuts and bolts. I just have to know how the bigger pieces all fit together. I don't have to understand how a fuel injection system works. I just understand it's part of the fuel system, and then I need the sparks, and I don't have to understand all the details, but I just know how to make components work to get the engine firing, the piston, and everything else in the transmission moving forward. Real quickly, okay, so that's how you departmentize. 4 ways to structure an organization: by line the staff, matrix, and cross-functional. And most organizations fit into, utilize different, depends on the department. As you get larger, smaller, usually line the staff. You're the boss and somebody else is working for you. And then as you get bigger and bigger, those boundaries start getting a little bit more fuzzier, because we end up with different types of organization. When we talk about a virtual organization, that we'll talk in a little bit later. Okay, now other topics. Real time is what's actually happening. Transparency. You try to be as transparent as you can with your owners, with your stakeholders. But remember, you're still a business. You still have to worry about the competitive edge. You have to see which information you're going to let out, which information you don't let out. So transparency is a kind of a vague. It depends on the situation and everything else. You still want to be ethical, but that you want to tip your hand on something else. So it's a fine line. As you get larger and larger, the transparency gets harder and harder, because everyone else is trying to control or make sure that their turf or their area that they're under the responsibility is basically protected, and there is no false or accusation or some leakage of information. Because remember, all these little areas come into the larger section. When you look at a bureaucratic or a centralized, a taller organization, it still has to have that mainframe, whether I'm a flat organization or a tall organization. Okay, we'll talk about culture. And culture, when I look at, and we'll talk a little bit later about culture up in here, but we have changing culture. How do I change a culture within a company? And I think when you, a while back, we had Circuit City, we'll still hear, some of you may still remember, during competition with Best Buy. Circuit City was strictly for, what do you call it, on commission, and Best Buy is more customer focused. If you're strictly on commission, you don't really want to spend too much time with a customer, because unless they're buying, you're not making any money off of the customer. So a lot of like Best Buy, you kind of have a commission, but it's mostly on a salary based operation, so you can spend more time with the customers. So in a nutshell, real quickly, Circuit City was trying to change into the same kind of culture like Best Buy. So they fired everyone and rehired only people who knew. Because remember, if I'm strictly from a culture that's looking at always for customers, making more money on how much I sell, and now I have to relax and spend more time with a customer, I may not fit with that culture. So culture takes the time to change. I teach a course, organizational culture, and basically in this thing is companies have a culture. They change. Look at our family. We have a culture. When you bring in a new family member, when my son brought in his wife into the family, and we're all living together as one whole family. When you're looking at it, because she comes from the Mexican heritage, now I come from the Polish side, we're beginning to change, and my wife is a little bit of everything, so now we're beginning to have Polish, Mexican, so the culture is changing within, but it took a little while. We didn't accept everything that she was bringing into from her culture, and she didn't accept everything here, but we found that in the middle of growth. So as culture changes, as you bring more people in, organizational change. You're going to have the formal is what the organization wants the culture to be like, and the informal is basically individuals within the culture. Even though I know I'm a manager and I should be acting this kind of role because this is what's expected of me from the organization, that's what they're paying me, but I have an informal. I might be a happy-go-lucky guy, but at work I'm very serious because I'm an accountant, or I'm a finance, or I'm a police officer, or something else. Do you see what I'm talking about? So all these make sense, okay? So that takes care of our chapter 8, and we're at 12 minutes. I'm trying to keep these under 15 minutes. Make sure you look at the PowerPoints that's included in the course management and Blackboard, and look at this YouTube. Use the mind maps, follow the information, add on to it as you're reading the chapters. Work in the forum, it should be pretty good. Okay, so this is chapter 8, adaptive organization, and you could utilize some of this in our feasibility study that you're looking. Here's all the key information and vocabulary as we're doing in the forum. Again, my name is Dr. George Mochocki, and this is one of the chapters in Introduction to Business Organization that you're taking with me, either in a face-to-face class or online. Thank you.